that's one thing, like, because with my cousin, my niece, she has a whole bunch of little things in her head, you know, she's like ADHD and hyperactive and everything, so she has a lot of rules to try and help regulate her emotions because, you know, they've learned what triggers her and what sets her off and the best way to keep her a productive little kid. And with me and Frankie, you know, it's like, she's like, blah, blah, whatever, a lot of screen time, you can eat red dye and everything. But her cousin's sensitive to red dye and sensitive to, like, being on the screen all the time because her being on the screen changes her mood. Changes her, like, the way she acts and the way she talks to people. And so she has the strict screen time. So when she's with Frankie, we restrict Frankie's screen time too, you know, just to be respectful, because it's not like, oh, you're just being mean to be mean. It's like, no, we know the reasons why her cousin has a restriction. And Frankie doesn't have a restriction normally, but then also she's not majorly affected by it. She could play with her cousin all day long outside of the screen time and whatnot, so it's not negatively affecting Frankie. So we're just trying to keep it fair. It's like, oh no, Frankie can be on the tablet all day long, but no, you gotta sit in the corner and not be on the tablet, because so, like, with other people's, like, restrictions and everything, it's good to find out why,
it is,
and then also figure out if it's healthy for your kid too, because, you know, being not on the screen is healthy for Frankie. So it just helps being able to talk to other parents and seeing why their restrictions are certain ways. And people do have food sensitivities to, like, different colored dyes or different processed foods. And it's just learning who your kid is and being able to express that to other parents. And I feel like it's helpful, like, when you're sending your kid to another person, like, oh no, they can't eat this food, they can't do this because of these reasons, you know, like, it affects them this way or makes them sick. And being able to not be ashamed of those reasons, I think is really helpful, because then, like, for me, like, oh, you're just being a really super strict kid or parent, you know, here, all the hot Cheetos you want. It's like, no, they have stomach issues, they have almost, like, okay, we'll just be able to help you with that, and being able to talk to your parenting friends and stuff is helpful.
I agree. When my kids were younger, I had really strong media restrictions. Like, I wouldn't let them watch TV like all the other kids could, and I didn't have a TV in my home. I had a TV stand with a bunch of plants on it, and you know what I mean? Like, it was way different, and they had a lot of books. They've always had books. They've always had a love of reading, because the one goal that I put down in my baby book was, I want my kids to have a love of reading. And that was something I aspired to when I became a mother. And so over the years, you know, that's what's happened. You know, like, my kids, they read every night. We like, during the summers, we institute a reading hour before bed where all the kids have to read a book. There's no restrictions on how many books we'll buy for the kids, and they love it, because, like, my daughter now, she started to appreciate, like, hardcover books. So her Harry Potter series is all hardcover, and she's just like, she takes such good care of them, you know what I mean? And, like, she'll rent out the books at the library and read them and get them all dirty and grimy, but her hardcovers, she takes really good care of them. And the kids love to read. And I buy them, like, all the banned books. Like, my son, he read Lord of the Flies when he was, like...
Is that a banned book?
No, but there's a bunch of other ones.
I was told to read that in high school.
Yeah, I know.
How's that a banned book?
Yeah, there's a bunch of books that are banned, though, and some of them are... I don't know. I saw a list of books that were banned, and I was like, okay, I'm going to get all of those. Like 1984, Lord of the Flies. You know what I mean? There was a bunch of them.
Those are all books I was told to read.
Yeah, and I read them too. Yeah, I read them in high school. War of the Worlds, it's not banned, but that was one of the books that I got him early on. And so I try to get classics for him. And, you know, what's happened is, as he got a little older, he wanted to get an Xbox. And all of his friends are all, you know, they're all gamers. They wanted to play. And so I told him, you know, if you get these grades, we'll buy you one. And so he got great grades. He got the A honor roll. And he made the honor roll. And we got him an Xbox. And he started, you know, hanging out with his friends and playing and getting good. And one of my friends, he's like an old school gamer. You know, he's like, I think he's a little older than me. And he had a new console, and he had like this crazy collection of games. And he was selling it for a really great price. And I was like, should I get this for my son? because the only way he could get games was if he earned them.
Mm-hmm.
So he doesn't have a lot, or he didn't have a lot. But my friend was selling this, and I was like, should I? And I was kind of debating it. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to get it. So I got it for him. I didn't tell him about it. And then I went to go visit one of my other friends, and he's a gamer, but he's also an artist. And I was telling him, you know, I got my son this, and I'm kind of debating if I should give it to him or not. I'm just kind of holding on to it. And he was like, give him the games. Like, what's wrong with you? And I was like, but what if that's all? And he was like, no. He was like, you don't understand. Like, when you're a gamer, you're learning about art techniques. Like, he was like, my gaming influences the art that I create. Mm-hmm. And it makes it better. You know what I mean? It gives me different perspectives, too, that I won't see in real life. You know what I mean? So I was like, oh, I didn't think about it like that. So I gave it to my son. And guess what? All of the books that he's been reading, paired with all the games that he's been playing, now he's writing his own game. Mm-hmm. And he's composing all the music, he's writing all the storylines, and he and his brother are studying coding now so they can actually create their own game. Yeah. Like, I didn't even think about that. You know what I mean? Like, it was just so cool. It was just this thing that happened, you know, like nurturing these different things, and it's so freaking cool to see them, like, mixing music, you know, and it's so cool to see them writing beats and, like, reading his stories. He's a really good writer, and one time I was reading his story, and I was, like, trying to keep it cool, because I don't like to just, like, openly, like, be too, like, oh my god, you're the best in the world. So I was trying to keep it cool for my son.
Overly enthusiastic?
Like, overly enthusiastic to the point where it's, like, not cool anymore and they're going to stop. You know, because kids are like that.
Oh, my mom used to do that all the time. Like, I know maybe it was, like, her way of trying to connect with us or something, but, like, we'd show her something we were interested in. Mm-hmm. And she would jump off the deep end.
That's what I don't want to do.
And she'd get, like, overly involved.
Yeah.
Where, like, it wasn't our thing anymore. It was her thing plus us. Mm-hmm. And so I know what you mean. It's like...
Yeah. It's like, you kind of got to keep it cool, you know? Like, let them do their thing. And but it does make me really proud. Like, wow, they're taking it to a whole other level, you know? And that makes me really happy. So, yeah.
Yeah. And, like, you know, video games is art.
It is.
Writing is art.
It is.
Music, like...
Yeah.
People are like, oh, video games are trash and they rot their mind or whatever. It's like, no, these kids, they're experiencing this whole new world. Mm-hmm. They're listening to this story be told. They're learning about storytelling and character development. And then there's art with pixels, digital art. Mm-hmm. And then, like, hand-eye coordination. Like, I can't play a first-person shooter. I just go around spinning, pushing the shoot button. Because for some reason, this thumb and this thumb don't like to move together to direct a character around. But, like, you know, there's so much that goes into a video game, and, you know, us being artists in the family, and Gernon's really into video gaming. He's been, like, online gaming since high school, and all my brothers video game, and, you know, it's just...
Yeah, I think I don't know. I've seen what happens when someone gets addicted to video games, and they're not working or taking care of their kids. Like, you know, I've seen that, and I'm not going to name names, but you know who you are. And
always calling people out.
It's Navajo Tea Time. Like, that's the whole point. I'm just kidding. But yeah, like, I got that game console and I smashed it. I know, it was bad. I shouldn't have done that. But I did. And yeah, so I was always really reluctant. Like, I didn't want my kids to be, like, addicted to that, or to, like, you know, have their priorities switch.
Everything in moderation, you know?
Yes, absolutely.
And so, like, with you and, like, how you're trying to get your kids to read and everything, I've always had a negative experience with reading because of my learning disability. And yeah, so, like, I've always had a negative experience with reading. It's never been the way I've absorbed information. So, like, I absorb information better if someone's telling it to me. So, like, audiobooks or YouTube videos and stuff. So that's it. Hearing it and seeing something visual or a picture is always better for me. Like, reading, sometimes I'd be reading the same paragraph 20 times because I just couldn't see the words. Or it like, I'd read the sentence, but it would never connect to my brain.
Yeah, and I think that I think the way I parent would be different if that was the case.
Mm-hmm.
Like if that was something that came up with one of the kids, I know I would have to, adjust things. Yeah, because I wouldn't want to hurt them by being so overly, like so overbearing. Like you have to do this.
Mm-hmm.
You have to love reading or whatever.
Yeah. So like parenting's very specific to you and your child
and the whole situation. Yeah, because you don't, and you're never given like. I don't know. It's really interesting how like we're given these children as gifts, and we learn to, nurture them and care for them and raise them up. And it's funny because you never know what you're gonna get.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you're meeting this brand new human being who's so different and unique from you. And that's how I felt when I first met my son. I was just like, who is this weird being? In my presence. Like learning about him and learning what makes him tick. And respecting him as an individual. And I've always wanted to nurture his voice, but he's never been loud. He's never been overly expressive. He's never been extroverted. He's always been this calm, steady presence that watches everything and absorbs everything.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that was the perfect introduction to parenthood for me. Because I think if I got a kid that was just so
loud and rambunctious,
I think I would have had a completely different experience. Because then my daughter, who came next, she was like that. Like she was volatile when she showed up during a thunderstorm, and she had all that energy, and she's really strong, and she's really smart, and she like knows exactly what she wants, and she's vocal about it, and she's always been like that since she was a baby. And it's been really interesting learning how to work with these two completely different temperaments, and how to raise the children up. And then you have other children come into the fold, and they're all unique and different, and none of them, like you can't have a cookie cutter way of doing things and have it apply to everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's different ways to approach them and talk to them and earn their trust and earn their respect. You know what I mean? But I think the overarching thing is just like, my method of parenting is, strict, clear, concise, room for adjustment. You know what I mean? It's kind of the overarching thing that I think this quiz brought out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For me, like, I saw it very clearly like that. I'm like, oh yeah, I guess I am very, like, flexible with
Mm-hmm.
Frankie.
Mm-hmm.
But that's just because with her, we set the rules, or like we set the procedure and how to do something,
Mm-hmm.
and she internalizes it herself.
Mm-hmm.
So she regulates herself.
Yeah.
Like we tell, okay, brush your teeth, do like, you brush your teeth, you floss, and then you do mouthwash.
Mm-hmm.
She reminds us.
Mm-hmm.
Like when I'm like being really lazy at night, I'm like, okay, Frankie, let's just quick brush and let's go. She's like, no, I need to floss and I need the mouthwash.
Cute.
Okay.
Y'all do it yourself, please.
So she's really good at internalizing the procedures that me and Gernon create,
Mm-hmm.
and keeping us accountable for
Yeah.
them. Because me and Gernon, we're like, I don't know, like in our core beings, we're like, whatever, artist hippie kids, like
Yeah.
we do what we feel like when we feel like it.
Yeah.
And with Frankie, we've really had to adjust that
Mm-hmm.
way of being, because she needs structure and she
Yeah.
needs things laid out and done specifically, and so we're trying to do that for her. But also, the one thing I love about being her mom is just learning new things about her,
Mm-hmm.
and figuring her out,
Mm-hmm.
and just seeing her mind develop and watching her interpret the world.
Yeah.
And she's so loving and caring and open, and everyone she meets, they're her friend or her cousin,
Mm-hmm.
instantly. She's like, oh, you're my cousin. It's like, no, they're not your cousin. Oh, so they're my friend. Like, sure. If they're not family, then they're a friend. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
And it hurts my heart, my pessimistic heart, because I'm like, this world's going to break your heart over and over again. And I just want her to be
Mm-hmm.
able to be strong enough to have her heart broken over and over again.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
And because
that's
you know it's
hard.
going to happen.
Yeah.
Being as old as you are, you're going to get your heart broken,
I
and
know.
people are going to betray you, and it's going to hurt you so much. But I just want
Mm-hmm.
you to be able to stay as loving and as caring as you can be.
Yeah, that's the thing I always try to nurture in the kids too, is like I don't ever want them to like grow up too fast. Like I want them to remain as childlike for as long as possible, because I know it's gonna shift. You know what I mean? I know it's inevitable, and like when my Yaj was in grade school, he started to. I don't know, he didn't really fit in with the other boys, you know, because the boys were really rowdy and really loud and naughty, and he just wasn't like that. Like, he's very, like, he comes from a household where I'm the mom, you know what I mean? And it's like, when I'm your mom, like, you know how to be and how not to be. So, he didn't really fit in with all of that. And I remember it used to kind of hurt him because he didn't have a lot of friends. And when he would get picked on, or people would say things to him that might be hurtful to him, he would get hurt by it, you know? And so it got to a point where, you know, I told him, for the longest time, you know, it was always like, I would always say to him, you know, one day you're gonna meet those friends, you're gonna meet the people in your life who are gonna become your friends, and they're gonna understand you, and they're gonna appreciate you for who you are. They're gonna understand what you're talking about, and they're gonna like the things that you like. You just haven't met those people yet, but you will. And he was just waiting and waiting, you know, when am I gonna meet these people? And I told him it's inevitable, it's gonna happen. And then it got to a point where I remember one day he was just like hurt, you know? And I told him, I was like, because he was around 12 years old then, and it was one of the first times I told him, like, you need to toughen up. You know what I mean? I'm like, I'm not going to be by your side, you know, forever. I'm not always going to be there to tell you, like, oh, it's going to be all right, you know? It's them, not you. Like, I was like, no, you need to toughen up. You can't let these things that people, like these arrows that people shoot at you, hit you. You got to put a shield up, you know? You got to let it bounce off. You can't let every single arrow hit you because you're going to keep getting hurt. And he was just like, I don't know how to do that. And I was like, all right, let's go through it. You know what I mean? This is how you do it. And his sister was like, I'll show you how to do it. You know what I mean? But he had to, like, you know, I had to just tell him straight up, like, you need to learn how to arm yourself, shield yourself, and if you have to, you got to fight back. Use your wit. Use your brain. You don't have to resort to, like, cursing at people or using profanity or being disrespectful or hitting them. I was like, use your brain. You're a smart kid. You know, figure it out. And he started to, you know. He started to, like, punch back, you know, verbally. And, you know, it was good for him. But, you know, that's another thing about the balance, too, is, like, you can nurture your kids, but it gets to a point, too, when you're like, all right, you got to suck it up. You know what I mean?
Fly!
I know, like, come on, kid. Like, you know what I mean? You're getting older now. And I think one thing that really helped him was around that time, just after that time in the spring, his voice cracked. And we had a puberty ceremony for him. So he had that manhood ceremony, and he was in there with a bunch of men that were there to guide him. And it was freaking awesome because they were like, I'm glad that the people that were there, I'm glad it was those people that showed up for him, because they gave him some really great teachings and guidance, and they, like, lectured him. You know what I mean? Like, it was harsh and direct. But they told him what he needed to, and I noticed that after that, like, his behavior started to change, and he really did, like, toughen up. He did. He got stronger. He got more confident, and I think it helped, too, that he started getting taller, because he, like, got taller and bigger, and I was like, cool, okay, we're good. That always helps, you know what I mean, when you're, like, bigger than the rest, or at eye level with
when
them,
you
at
get
least.
that spurt.
Yeah, I think that really helped. And then I think now he's at this point where he knows who he is, and he's confident enough to pursue, you know, his own path and not feel like he has to try to, you know, jump onto other people's paths or be the way they are. Like, I think he's more confident in who he is as an individual.
Yeah.
But it was a whole journey. You know what I mean? Yeah.
It always is. So one thing, like, you mentioned, like, how your daughter was born, like, during a storm. Do you remember, like, what the day was when your son was born? Like, the story of their birthing?
Yeah.
Did you want to share it?
Really?
Well, okay, so I can give mine. Like,
Okay.
I always find, I don't know, I guess the legend of people's birth funny and, like, interesting of, like, how to relate them back to the people. So, like, for me, I was born, the night I was born, it was really cold, like one of the coldest nights of that winter, and the roads were iced over, and it was a full moon, and my mom was in labor for 4 days, and so I just like, I feel like I take that into my personality. I was like born on one of the coldest mornings. The roads were frozen over. You know, it was like a really difficult. Like, oh, something horrible or great is coming.
Yeah.
And then with my daughter, she was born under a full moon as well. I think it was like a partial blood moon. In November and everything. I think it was either a wolf moon or a hunter's moon. And I always say like, oh, Frankie came directly from the pits of Tartarus on a blood hunter's moon, and that's her personality. You know, I've always called her like the Empress of Destruction, because if she could find a way to break something, she would. You know, we gave her a magazine. It was shreds. Yeah. Like she was like 2 or 3 months, and she totally ripped that thing apart.
Yeah.
And those like high chairs for babies, you know, that are supposed to be indestructible, she like popped off the little table thing. I was like, how? You know. And so I feel like sometimes like those stories help shape people. And like, yeah. So, what about your kids and you? Do you know the story of your birth?
Yeah. So my mom was told that she couldn't have children. And she prayed for me, and prayed for me, and prayed for me. And God, Creator, gave her a baby. And so she always calls me her miracle child, because before me, she couldn't have children. And so she took such great care with me the whole time I was, you know, in her belly, and then after. You know, she was a super mom, you know, all her love, all her time, all her patience, it went into me. And she used to teach me things. Like, she would teach me songs and read me poetry and read me books and, like, play games with me and sing to me. And I remember all of that. And she told me I started talking when I was, like, 2 weeks old. I said my first word. And I could speak very, like, clear English fluently and have communication with people when I was 2. And I have recordings of this, and it's scary because I know my address, I know my phone number, I know my parents, I know the muscles in the body, I knew all the books in the Bible, and I was a little kid, and it's freaking crazy because, like, my kids didn't start talking that early. I don't know many kids that do. So it was kind of this crazy thing where I had a lot of nurturing, a lot of love, a lot of support. I had both my parents, and people around me would teach me things. And so I was just at this crazy level. And I think that's why I'm kind of like the way I am. You know what I mean? It just kind of evolved over time to become who I am now. But I just think that's nuts. So with my kids, I remember when my son was born, when I found out that I was going to be a mother, I was so happy because I was ready to be a mom. You know, I was married. I had been married for 3 years before, you know, his father and I started talking about having a child. And I told him, for the longest time, I was like, I'm not ready. He wanted to have children when we were like 18. And I was like, you're crazy. Like, hell no, I'm not ready for that. Everything's always on my time, if you haven't noticed. You know, everything's my time, my way. And I was like, no, we're not doing that. You know, I need to live my life, and I need to figure out who I am, and I need to be ready to do this. Because when I do it, I want to do it right. That's the whole thing. So I was 25. We decided, yes, we're going to have a child. And we planned for it, and we prayed for it, and we were given a son. And the whole time he was in my belly, I remember talking to him. And I was very, like, I really did feel like he could hear me and understand me. And I would tell him, I'm really scared, you know, like, you need to work with me on this. It's my first time. I don't know how I'm going to handle, like, birth. I don't know how I'm going to handle motherhood. I hear it's really hard. I don't have all the puzzle pieces that need to be in place. Yes, I had a husband, but we didn't have our own house. We didn't have our degrees, you know what I mean, a college education. So there were these pieces that my mom was like, you have to do this first, and I didn't really do that. So I was scared, you know, and I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm freaked out. But I felt like he could hear me, you know, and I would always tell him, like, we're we're a team and we're going to do this together, and I pray that you're a good baby, and please, like, take it easy on me, you know? Please take it easy on me because I don't know what I'm doing and I'm really scared, but I love you and I promise I'll take care of you. So the morning I went into labor, I started feeling contractions around 8 o'clock in the morning. And I was like, oh my God, you know, like, I know this is real. So I decided to wait because my friend had her first child when she was 18, which is why I didn't want to have kids. But I remember being with her the day she went into labor. I was there at the birth of her child, so she's my goddaughter now. But I knew that it's a long process. It's not this quick thing like in the movies. So, you know, I decided to wait. I waited into the afternoon, and then I told he's my ex-husband now. I told him, like, I think we should go to the hospital. So around, like, you know, afternoon, we went to the hospital, and they were like, you're not ready yet, but you're kind of at the cusp, so we'll just check you in. So I remember, like, as we went into labor, I really wanted to have a natural birth. I didn't want to take any medicine or pain medicine. I was like, I want to earn my stripes, you know what I mean? I want to be strong and get through it and do it naturally. And that was like a part of my pride, you know? Mm-hmm. And so I remember talking with the baby the whole time. Like, baby, like, take it easy on me, you know what I mean? And it seemed like he did, because I felt like the contractions would get really, like, it would hit really hard, but then it would subside and I would adjust to it. And then it would hit again. So it was like they were kind of like hitting in waves, but it wasn't like super strong that I couldn't handle it. It kind of felt like this gradual thing where my body had time to adjust to the pain levels as it was getting more intense. And so I ended up having him naturally, vaginally, with no pain medicine. And it was like the most intense but the most beautiful experience of my life. Like, I remember we were listening to Pink Floyd and Pantera in the birthing room, and he was born into this world of sound, you know, this beautiful music of Dimebag Darrell. But it was beautiful, you know, it was this amazing moment. I remember holding him for the first time and looking at him, and he was healthy and he was fully formed, and his eyes were so alert. That's what I noticed right away, is he was so alert immediately. Mm-hmm. Most kids look like they're in a daze, like, for months. But he looked, like, alert, like he understood, which I thought was freaking weird, because it was like, whoa. So that was him. His sister, I was like, I'm going to try to stay at home as long as possible. So the night she was being born, I remember I was at home, and I was like, I'm not going to go to the hospital until the very last moment. So I went into labor, and I was like, I remember walking through the house. I cooked dinner, took a shower. You know, I was just like getting everything together in pain. But, you know, and the contractions with her were like freaking hard. It was like, bam! And I'm like, ah! Like hard, like intense. It wasn't like this gentle progression. It was like, bam, I'm here, you know, like what? You know, it was crazy. And I was just like, oh my God. And it was faster too. It wasn't like this long, drawn out thing. It was like really fast. So within a couple of hours, I was like already, when I got to the hospital, I was already 9 centimeters dilated. I remember being at the house, and I was just like trying to breathe through the contractions. I was holding onto my dresser, and like my ex-husband was just like, we're taking you to the hospital now, like, this looks crazy, you know? So he like puts me we had a truck. He put me in the truck. He strapped in our son, and my son was like, Mom, are you okay? You know, and I was like, I'm okay, son. I'm just like, ah! You know, like, and then he's like, Mom, are you okay? And I'm just like, yes, I'm okay, baby. Like, ah! And we're driving to the hospital, and it was like thunder and lightning and wind and rain, and it was like really intense, and you pair that with these really intense contractions. And we get to the hospital, and he had to take my son to his Nellie's house so that he could watch him while we were there. So he takes me to the emergency room, puts me in a
go.
Yeah, he puts me in the wheelchair, and he's like, take her, she's gonna have a baby. And they wheel me in, and it was so painful, and I just started crying, and it was so embarrassing because I saw this one guy who I went to school with. We had actually walk together on graduation, and he was working there as a security guard, and I'm just like, don't look at me! I was crying. And they took me to the back, and within an hour I had her. She was born super fast. It was super intense, and it happened so quickly that I didn't have time to ask for any kind of pain medicine. So it was all natural again with no medicine. So, yes, I'm a warrior woman. I'm just kidding. No, I think birth is hardcore for anybody, no matter what route you go.
With me, I had to be induced because I had gestational diabetes. So Frankie's like a little sugar baby. And when I was in the hospital, like we went November 11th, and she was born on the 5th.
Yeah.
And that was the same with me. Like, the hospital wanted to make me a New Year's baby.
Oh, really?
And I'm born on the 4th. And I was like, no, lady, I'm staying in. But, like, with Frankie, when, like, I'm just sitting there in the hospital because, like, they're trying to give me all these meds to induce labor and everything. And I'm, like, waddling around. And Mona came to visit me a couple of times. My brother came out for the weekend from Albuquerque. Like, are you going to birth the baby? I was like, she's not here yet, sorry. And they had to leave. But she came at, like, 1 in the morning.
Wow.
And I got the epidural because her head was, like, on my hip bone.
Oh,
and she was just pushing on it. And she wouldn't move.
Oh my god.
And she wouldn't go in. And like, they're like, are you hungry? Do you want to eat something? Like, I can't eat. I'm so, like, I have a high pain threshold. But, like, I don't like being in pain.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can stand a lot of, like, I don't feel pain for a really long time, but once I'm in pain, I'm like, I don't like it because I'm not used to it, you know?
Yeah.
And so I'm like, I need something. And they're like, okay, we'll give you the epidural. And then as soon as I got the epidural, I wasn't in pain anymore, but I couldn't eat anything anymore because I can't get up to go to the bathroom. Like, I'm hungry now, but that's because I'm no longer in pain. But, like, her head was, like, right there on my hip bone. I'm like, you little booger. And then she, like, and then, like, at 1 in the morning, like, I think 1:49 was when she was born. In the morning, I'm like, God, why?
Oh my gosh. That's how Baji was.
It was probably, like, the moon was probably at peak fullness. It's, like, right there. It's like, okay, the portal's open.
Oh my gosh. I know. So with Bahi, it's kind of similar. We had gone to this Christmas, it was like a Christmas musical that the kids were performing in. And then afterward, I had an appointment at the hospital because it was like my 37th week appointment. So I go in, and I told them that I was having, like, my hands were really itchy, and my feet too, and it was, like, weird. And the only thing that made it stop was to put my hand on something cold, or my feet. And apparently that's a sign for a problem. I forgot what it was called, but it's really bad, and it can actually result in a stillbirth.
Oh no.
And so they were like, we need to induce you now, because apparently there had been some Native American children that had been born stillborn. And they were like, this is not good. We need to induce you. This baby needs to come out now. And I had only prepared to go to my appointment. I was still 3 weeks away from having my son, or like from being full term. So I was, like, scared, I'm like, is he fully formed? Are his lungs developed? Is he going to be able to breathe when he's born? Like, what the heck? And they were like, so we did all these, like, ultrasounds and everything, and they sent me to OBGYN, admitted me, and I was just, like, freaking out, like, the kids are coming home from school, like, we don't even have anything. We didn't have clothes, we didn't have a car seat, we didn't have nothing. My bags weren't there. So I was just like, oh my God. And so my husband takes off, and he's running around gathering everything. He gets the kids, takes them to grandma. You know what I mean? It was like this whole thing. Anyways, so we get admitted, and we were there all weekend. And they're like pumping me like up with all of this, like, was it Pitocin? Yeah, so trying to get me ready to give birth. And we were there all weekend. And it was a whole ordeal. It was not anything like his brother or his sister. It was like this whole thing. It was, we were there all weekend, and he wasn't born, I think, until Tuesday. And so it was all long drawn out, and I was like, I was okay. Like, I was slowly, my body was slowly getting ready, slowly dilating. On that last day, though, they were like, you need to have this baby because my water had broke. And they were like,
bacteria and stuff.
Yeah, like all these things. They were like, you need to go. You know, we need to get this baby out. So there were like a few options. Like either he's gonna be born within this time period, or we're gonna have to do a C-section. And I was like, we'll do whatever we have to do to make sure the baby is safe and healthy when he's born. You know what I mean? Like, do whatever you have to. So we were, like, walking around. I was doing all these exercises, like the tub and, like, the bouncy ball and all this stuff, you know, trying to get him to drop. And then when he finally did, it was, like, you know, I was okay until about 8 centimeters. I wasn't really feeling the contractions. They were like, are you feeling them? And I'm like, no. I was like, I have a really high pain threshold. Like, I'm really strong. Yeah, just kidding. No, I couldn't really feel them. I was doing this thing called KISS. I think it's called KISS therapy or something, where instead of taking drugs, you, like, kiss your partner to have your body rush endorphins and, you know, other feel-good chemicals. And we were doing that, and it was working. It worked all the way until I was between 8 and 9 centimeters dilated. And after that, I was like, I need an epidural. This is freaking painful. I don't want to do this. So that happened. They gave me this pain medicine where I think it's like, is it laughing gas? I don't know. But you breathe it in, and it's supposed to, like, help your pain. And it didn't help any pain. It just felt like the world was getting darker and darker. And I was just like, oh, hell no. Like, all the darks in the room got darker. You know what I mean? All the shadows got black. And I was just like, no, take it away. I don't want that. And then I was like, can I get an epidural? And they were like, you're too far along. We can't give it to you. It's too late. And I was like crying. I was like, I can't do this. This is horrible. Like, what I get myself into? And my husband is just like, no, like, I'm here, we got this, I'm not going anywhere, you know, we'll get through it. And so we did. But again, I gave birth to Bahi, like, my second son, no medicine, and it was really, really painful. And after he was born, I was so happy and grateful. He was healthy, he could breathe, he passed all of his tests, but that's when I decided no more children. I was like, I can't do this anymore. I've proven my point.
What point?
No more. I know. I was just like, I'm done. Like, no more children. Like, they're a blessing. I love them, but I can't do this anymore. You know what I mean? Like, I know myself. I'm like, my body can't handle this no more. I'm done. But yeah, that's how they were born. That's their stories. So.
Yeah, like with Frankie, like she was born and everything. She was like crying and crying, and then as soon as she heard Gernon's voice, she like stopped crying. He's like, hey, shush up. And she's like,
cute. That's what Alex was when she heard her dad's voice.
I remember like being pregnant and laying down next to Gernon. You like, you know, like your belly, it's all big and everything, and then she would just like,
really?
Yeah.
Aww, that's
all the
cute.
time. She'd just like lump over to him and like Gernon, I'm all sideways.
Cute. Aww, that's cute.
So. Those are birthing stories.
Yep, those are birthing stories.
So
Happy Mother's Day. Just kidding.
One thing I wanted to talk about a little bit was like with parenting, because there's kind of like a weird controversy with this new Disney movie, Turning Red.
Oh,
Have you seen it?
I haven't.
Oh, okay. But anyways, there's like a lot of things like where like it brings up like menstruation and women specifically like emotions and rage and stuff, and like a lot of parents and parenting people and people who like telling parents how to parent are getting mad about it. Like mainly like really conservative Christian people. And there's one person I was watching, she wasn't one of the people who were mad about it, but she was talking about like parenting and like how like super strict parents and really controlling parents when they don't let their kids express themselves, or like the moment they find out their kid is into something that they're not enthused about and they get in trouble for it, the kids shut down. You know, they stop telling their parents things, they start keeping secrets. And that was one of the main things that like a lot of the outrage was about. I was like, oh, they're teaching this kid to like keep secrets and to sneak out. I was like, no. It showed that this girl got in trouble for something, and the only time that she ever asked for anything from her parents, it was immediately shut down and wasn't open for discussion. And because she was shut down and like completely dismissed of like the interests she had, then she decided to sneak out.
That's a true story, eh? Just kidding. I'm kidding, Mom and
Yeah,
Dad.
so that's just like, you know, like not listening to their kids and like putting so much pressure on their children to be a specific way. And then like when they're not that way and the parent like reacts violently and like dismissive and like very demeaning, and the kid just like shuts down and closes off, and they're like, nope, nothing's wrong, I'm perfectly fine, I'm not into any of that, and like just starts holding secrets and keeping things from people and their parents, which is what I never want for Frankie to do. I never want her to feel like she has to hide her interests from us.
Yeah, that would be sad, because then you lose that part of their lives. You know what I mean? You don't get to enjoy it or be a part of it, and I think that's really sad.
Yeah, so it's like I would get really offended like when people are like, so if Frankie's into sports, are you gonna let her do sports? I'm like, yeah, why wouldn't I let her do sports? Are you gonna go? I'm like, of course, I'm gonna be there with like a giant like poster board of her face going, Frankie! And then she's gonna say, Mom, stop coming to the events. You know?
I know. One of our boys, he's really into football. He loves to play football, and you know, me and my husband were worried about it, because you know, so many football players. It's a rough sport. It's a contact sport. A lot of them get brain injuries, you know what I mean, from it, concussions in high school and all that. It's scary. If it was up to us, we'd be like, no football. But we're not those kind of parents, you know. This is what he wants to do. This is what he loves to do. So we show up at his games, you know. We're telling him that, you know, well, you better train, you know what I mean? You better train hard. You better be smart. You better be fast. And, you know, like, and also these are the consequences of this choice, and we want you to make an informed decision. He's like, yeah, I want to play football. And we're like, okay, well, you better keep your grades up then, you know, because no one's going to let you play on their team if you're not doing good in school. So there's that back and forth. And, yeah, it's hard, but at the same time, it's like this is something he loves and wants to do. So we're not going to say no. We're going to show up and support him, but also we're also trying to show him other things he can do too, you know. How about baseball, or how about, you know, we try to make suggestions, but he's like, no, I want to play football. And we're like, okay. So it's hard, you know. But
I feel like you're the only parent I've ever heard that say, oh no, don't do sports. I feel like most Native parents specifically are like overwhelmed when their kid likes to do sports and is good at sports.
I don't want him getting hurt. You know, like, I don't know. Like, for me, I feel like the main thing I've always relied on and have been able to rely on was my brain. You know what I mean? That's always worked for me, thankfully. And I try to protect it. And by extension, I want to protect my kids' brains too. You know what I mean? Like, can we please protect it? Like, can you please not damage it on purpose? You know what I mean? And so it's hard, you know. Like I said, when I was very young, I could absorb information quickly. You know what I mean? It's always been I can understand things easily. It doesn't take a lot. Learning has always been easy for me. You know what I mean? And I know some people, they have all these challenges and it's hard. They have to study really hard. It's always kind of been easy for me. That's the gift I was given when I was born. And I try to take care of that. That's what I mean. Like, I wasn't even supposed to be here, but I'm here and I believe I'm here for a reason. You know what I mean? And so I try to use it for good. I really do try to use all of my brain power for good. You know, I really do. In my work, in my life, with my children, in my marriage, you know, everything. In business. I use all of my brain so that I can come up with solutions that are going to hopefully make the world a better place. Like, really, I really do want to do that. I don't want to just waste my life, you know.
Your ability to, like, absorb and retain information has always been something you've had, and and it's come easy for you, and so you protect your skill, you know.
Yeah.
Which is understandable, and I get, but, like, when you say, like, oh, my brain, but I can't create music, like, but you need your brain to create music, so that's what my disconnect was from.
Yeah, I mean, and you would think, like, oh, well, so you have this ability to absorb information, but you can't learn how to play a piano, you know what I mean?
I mean, like, but like, there's also, like, hand-eye coordination. Like, I was saying, like, I can't do a first-person shooter game, but I can play the saxophone. If I really tried, I could probably play the piano. You know, but there's different skill sets and different connective things to, like, your mind and your hands and everything.
Yeah, and I think it's just like book smarts, I guess. You know, it's just information like that, like words. You know, words and language. That's kind of been a thing. But I have challenges like everybody else. Like I said, I can't write music. I don't have a photographic memory. Some people have that, so they can be really great actors, and you know what I mean? They can memorize things easy. I don't, like, I can't run a marathon. I've tried.
I haven't tried.
My body
I'm not
won't do it.
gonna run a marathon.
You know what I mean? Like, there's definitely things that I can't do.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And it's very humbling. And so I was, you know, I've said this before, like, there are probably like 5 things that I'm good at, and that's it. You know, there's like everything else, not so much, but I'm good at 5 things, and I know what those things are, and I stick to them.
Mm-hmm.
Everything else, I'm like, let that be for other people. You know what I mean? Y'all can shine in your own way, in your own arena. You know what I mean? But this is what I'm good at, and I'm gonna stick to it, and hopefully use it for good, and build on it, and teach others.
Okay.
But yeah.
We're deviating again.
We are, like, all the time.
But yeah, like, I feel like sometimes, like, with parents, you want to protect the kid from everything, but you can't. You know, like in Finding Nemo, don't let anything happen to them, then nothing's going to happen to them. And sometimes I feel like kids, it's kind of like gardening. Like, you plant the seed, you take care of it as much as you can, and it grows. And then, but at some point, the plant has to take ownership of, like, what fruit or flower it produces.
Yeah.
And you can only water it and give it sunshine and provide a nurturing environment for it. That's how you are with kids.
Yep.
So that's parenting. I know we didn't get to the actual questions we wanted to get to, but I feel like we've talked enough about it. So
We did a long time. What was the question?
the question was, like, a helicopter parents and, like, gentle parenting.
Oh. I think I'm a gentle parent.
I read the definition, and I feel like a gentle parent. Like, the definition, gentle parenting isn't like you never punish or discipline your child. It's you also try to nurture their emotion and help them figure out what's going on with them. But sometimes you need to punish and discipline them, you know? It's like, that's not your first go-to. Your first go-to is trying to figure out their emotions and why they're doing something, and being able to reason it with them. You know? And that's the definition of gentle parenting. I'm like, oh, I do that.
Yeah.
Like, I'm okay with that. Helicopter, I don't think I could be a helicopter parent. I could definitely turn into one, like with Frankie's schooling.
I have been.
Because, like, when she's trying to do an art project or, like, her schoolwork, I'm like, no, it needs to be done this way. Instead of letting her learn how to hold a pencil or cut a scissors or, you know, the things that they're being tested on is not how perfect she put the glue on the paper and stuck the thing. No.
Yeah.
She's being tested on how well she holds the glue.
Yeah.
She's at that point.
Yeah.
So I'm like, Gurdon, you have to do the schooling with her, otherwise she's going to turn it into a perfect project, but she's not going to have done any of it.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I've been a helicopter parent in certain instances, but I really don't want that to be my legacy. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It gets really hard because you just want the best for them. But then also I've learned Frankie, she's a trial by error child. Like, I've told her tons of times, you know, don't touch the pot, it's hot. Don't touch the pot, it's hot. But she's like, what is hot?
Yeah.
What do you mean by hot? And then she touched it and she's like, oh, that's what you meant. That's what a hot is. And now she's never touched it again. She's never attempted to touch it. She's pulled my hand away. She's like, it's hot.
Oh,
you know?
That's good.
So she's a one and done, you know? She gets hurt. She's like, okay, I know now. And so it took me a while to realize that's how she learns. She has to experience it and embody the experience. So I think we're done with parenting.
I think we are. So that's our Mother's Day episode. There was a lot in there.
Yeah. So don't forget to like, share, subscribe, comment below whether or not you think you're a helicopter parent. If you took the quiz, were you more strict? Were you like me and just like, I guess, flower child, whatever, you're going to bloom or whatnot? What they think? Laissez-faire?
We didn't even get to my topic either. I wanted to talk about Indigenous parenting and what that looks like in your household. And we just like totally went off the rails.
We could do a whole month of parenting
We
one time.
totally could. Okay, well, thank you guys for joining us, and we appreciate all of your feedback. So please comment down below on YouTube, post up on social media. Let's have a conversation, a back and forth, and And with that, I think we're done with this episode, right?
Yeah. Bye.
All right, see ya. Bye.